Welcome to another This Week in Coworking Discussion.
Thanks so much for being here. What do you think is one thing the co-working world can learn from the European market?
So I think, because I would imagine that London is very similar to the US. Huckletree is based out of London, Manchester and Dublin, but London being our kind of primary focus. I think it's quite advanced and probably in quite a naturally similar stage to the US market. So I'm not sure that there's many ways in which either market is far behind. I think they're probably quite similar. Speaking only to what I know, I think in London we've seen a lot of differentiation. And I think it's been driven by kind of oversupply, and we've had to differentiate. So you have very strong standout brands. I like to think the Huckletree is one of them, but there are many others also. And I think that is important as the market continues to mature, that differentiation, that point of view becomes more and more important.
That's great. So on that topic, which I love that answer, because you are having to differentiate, what are things that you do to communicate that difference in a field of aggregators and marketplaces? How do you not only stand out, but share what those differentiators are?
I think the first thing that people notice about your space is the design. So if you're differentiated from a design perspective, it's very obvious and you don't need to talk about it, you don't need to communicate it. Whereas I think when we try overly hard to communicate our differentiators, and it's definitely been us in the past, you're almost trying too hard. If it doesn't land, if it's not instantly kind of understood and visible, then maybe that's not the right differentiator. So for me, differentiation by design is always the best one. And I think, we do run a risk in our industry of kind of a lot of similarities in design, and it's up to us to really struggle to continue to innovate in workplace design.
If you could wave a magic wand and instantly have one metric shared across all of your locations, what would that metric be and why?
If I could wave a magic wand, and I think, by the way, we all have a lot of data at the moment. There are lots of tools that help us. But I think the one thing that I always come back to, that I always want to know, that isn't obvious and isn't always instantly available to me, is what is my cost per square foot across each of my sites on these different line items. So I want to know exactly how much am I spending per square foot on utilities, how much am I spending per square foot on cleaning, because it's such a good benchmark and it allows you to really kind of streamline your costs. So that's a good one.
What do you wish your tech did better or more of?
I wish that the data to that granular level of detail, which means plugging into lots of different systems, was always live and always available.
Well, everyone's been saying that one too.
Really?
What's something that you would have told yourself 3 years ago not to do?
3 years ago, I would have told myself, don't do any more leases, because management agreements are about to become more and more mainstream in London. I had that intuition, but it was a slow journey. So we still did some leases in the meantime. Whereas actually, because I'm quite a risk-averse person, for me, management agreements are kind of much more, you're aligning the landlord and the operator as partners, and I see them as the way forward for our industry. So if I would go back 3 years, I think I would have negotiated harder to turn the leases that we have into management agreements, because they're great assets, they're great buildings, but you're so much better off when you're working in partnership with a landlord.
And then if you could redesign one of your spaces or design a new one from scratch, what's something that you would have either changed or added or subtracted?
I think one of our oldest buildings is also one that we did in partnership with an accelerator program. And so we tried to kind of mesh up our brands. And as a result, it worked super well, and it still continues to work very well, that building. It performs super well, one of our best margins across our portfolio. But it doesn't look like a Huckletree. And for me, who runs a business that is so focused on design differentiation and that kind of visibility and recognizability of our brand and our design, I would love to just wave a magic wand and it would be like fairy dust.
Where do you believe we'll see the next 10x improvements within co-working tech?
I think the next improvements are really going to be on the data side, because I think on the human side, we always run the risk of making it too technological, but we need to have that human touch. It's a human business. This is a human experience. But I think there's still a lot of room for improvement on the data and on the operational side of running flexible workspaces.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your
Cool.
time.
Thank
This was
you.
wonderful.
Brought to you by Syncaroo. Connect your stack and and unblock your best people.